Right. Looks like things are working now, so I guess we're good. I got the mic plugged in. I think it's working. We got the lights on. I think we're good. I think we're going. So let's get into this one. We'll get the disclaimers out of the way. This is a weekly live broadcast, pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. I'm here. I do my best to respond to all of the chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. So I haven't been good about answering comments lately. If you've got a question or something like that you need, this is probably the best place to get it answered directly. The only things we'll talk about whatever you want. I don't have a topic planned out, but the only things I ask is be polite, keep it family friendly, don't start cussing anybody, don't be rude or anything like that. We'll have to kick you out. But other than that, it's pretty much all good. So let's jump into it. We've got Warchild with the first thumbs up, first comment. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Made a cryptic message there. Well, it wasn't too cryptic, but hard for me to figure out there for a second. We got Tyler from South Louisiana. Good to see you. It says how to feed rabbits. So are you asking about? I'm not sure what you mean by how to feed them. Are you asking like? Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways I could take that. You mean what should you feed them? Or are you talking about like? Excuse me. You're talking about like. So let's talk about a couple of things with that maybe. So, okay, so your best way to feed your best bet on feeding rabbits is to feed a rabbit pellet. Buy it from like a local, food. Pet food, or not pet food, a local feed mill. If you can find one, a farm supply store, something like that sells it in bulk, get like 50-pound bag. It's going to be a little bit better deal than buying it in smaller amounts at like a Walmart or something like that. But get 16 to 19% is probably the best, 16 to 19% protein level in it. And just feed that to them. You're going to feed about roughly 8 ounces a day. You don't really want to overfeed your rabbit. You want to make sure that you just feed them enough that, if you go out in the morning, feed them roughly an 8-ounce cup worth of food a day. Watch your rabbits. If there's still pellets left over the next day, you're feeding them a little too much. Give them a little bit less. If they just, as soon as you put food in there, they just dive in like they're starving, give them just a little bit more. You'll find kind of the sweet spot where that needs to be. I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but hopefully it does. If not, ask again. We'll dive further into it. You want to know if you can sell rabbit meat? I don't know the laws in your state. The laws are different everywhere as to whether you can actually legally sell rabbit meat, as for human consumption. I think it's pretty much everywhere you can sell it for pet food, and they can do whatever they want with it once they buy it. But if you're going to sell especially larger quantities of rabbit meat already processed, you have to be inspected, like an FDA inspection or something like that. But you're going to have to look that up. I'm not an expert on that. I don't sell rabbit meat, so I don't know that I can answer that one for you, unfortunately. We got, is that Daniil? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, from South Louisiana here as well. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Justin Mitchell says, hello from Iowa. I picked up some seeds today. And wow, have they gone up. The seed prices have gone up. I haven't actually looked at seed prices lately, so we'll see. TM says, hello to everyone. It looks like I'm going to make it to this chat. Well, awesome. Thanks for joining us. We got So and Tear here from Gilroy, California, listening while I cut up some summer squash from this summer to blanch and freeze dry. So I'm not likely to see the chat much. I hope everyone is well. Well, thanks. I hope you are too. Chris Mason. Whoa, I scrolled there. It went too fast. Chris Mason says, good evening, all. It is good to see you again. It's good to see you again, too. Thanks for joining us. Don just made it in. Good to see you, Don. Thanks for joining. You're right on time. We're only 4 minutes in, so we got plenty of time left. Jesse Mills is here. Good to see you, Jesse. Says, good evening, everyone. I finally made it to a live again. Well, thanks for joining us. Free time. Hello to you. Let's see. We got a couple of people saying hi to everybody. We got Diana Tuttle saying hello to everyone. Jacob Wolf saying hello to all. Good evening to you guys, too. Thanks for joining. TM says, yeah, don't start cussing anybody. That sounds like good advice to me. Yeah, we want to keep it family friendly. We don't want to be cussing anybody. We don't want to be, we got kids that watch. We got all kinds of people in here. Just try to be good. Jacob says, looking good today, Chris. I have the same flannel shirt. Actually, Sharp Dress Maine. Yeah, this is a fairly new flannel. I think I bought this I can't remember. I can't see the tag right now to see where it is, but I think I bought this one. What is that? National brand or something like that. I got this on a Black Friday deal at Sharp's department store. I don't hardly ever go there, but we've got one here locally. $5 flannels. I bought like 5 of them. Let's see. Andrew says, "Hey, Chris from Alaska. Hope all is well. It's going pretty good here. Hopefully, it's going there good for you as well." There's Child of God says hello to everyone. Chris Mason says, "Chris, I want to express my gratitude for answering all the questions I've had since discovering your channel a few weeks ago. Your guidance is greatly appreciated." Well, that's very nice of you. I'm glad that you're finding things useful and that I'm able to help you out a little bit. Thanks for letting me know that. I appreciate it. Billy says, "Hey, Chris and everyone else, hello to you." Clifton, hello, everyone. Starting tomato seeds while watching the live. So I don't know where you're located, but I think it may be just a little early to start them here. I don't plant them out until roughly May, Mother's Day, roughly somewhere right around in there, depending on the weather. So I like to go about 6 weeks before that when I start my seeds. But hey, go for it. The only problem you're not. It's not that big of a deal. The only problem I've had with starting them this early, and I've done it before, is that they get so big by the time it's ready to plant them out. It's just hard to find room for all of them under grow lights and things. Cynthia says, "My quails are losing lots of feathers in the last few weeks in Ohio. This is my first winter spring. Is this normal?" Well, it's not abnormal. It sounds like they're probably molting. That they go through that sometimes twice a year, usually right around the season change for some reason. Usually they get through it in a couple of weeks. Just give them a little bit of time. It's not an abnormal thing. That would be my guess as far as what's going on. Depending on your protein levels in your feed, that can help a little bit with them getting through it. It takes a lot of protein to grow feathers. So if you have a higher protein, sometimes that'll shorten the molt just a little bit. But expect them, just a couple of weeks worth of it, and they'll get back on track. Tony from Toronto, good to see you. Don says, "Hello from South Mississippi." Good to see you, Don. And Wash Tub Dolly from Central Florida. Good to see you too. Andy Rabbit wants to know, how's the baby rabbits doing? Well, they're doing great so far. I haven't really seen them the last couple of days because, when I'm going out to feed, it's usually in the morning. It's dark. I've got a, headlamp that I put on so I can see well enough to water and feed and that kind of stuff. And I reach in, I maybe feel around in there to make sure they're okay and they're still squirming around and stuff. But that's about it. I haven't really dug them out, so I haven't really looked at them much. But they're doing fine. No issues. Tiny Quail Ranch says, "Good evening from snowy Ontario." You can keep that snow. We had the weirdest thing. And Andy Rabbit probably had it too. She's fairly close by. Not sure if it hit you or not, but was it Monday? Yeah, today's Thursday, Monday. Yeah, it was Monday. A snowstorm came through. It was like 5:00 in the morning when I got up. I let the dog out. Nothing had happened. They were calling for snow, and I'm like, nothing. And it wasn't even that cold. There was nothing, no rain, nothing. It was just dry as a bone. It was fine. And by the time I went out to feed the rabbits at 6:00, there was at least an inch of snow on the ground. It just started just really coming down. We got 4 inches of snow by like noon. It was quite a bit. It piled up on the grass and stuff. It wasn't super cold, so it didn't really stick to the roads real bad. But it was 4 inches of snow. And then the sun came out and it kind of warmed up a little bit and it all pretty much melted away before the end of the day. It was very strange. Justin says, "I'm also going to be hatching up some baby chicks and upgrading my garden. So hoping for a good summer." Well, yeah, no kidding. I hope for a good summer for you too. It sounds like you're making some good plans. Good luck. I hope it all goes well. And there's George Kaiser says hello to everyone. Andy Rabbit says, "Andrew Rabbit Poop." Oh, I missed a comment, didn't I? Andrew says, "Chris, do you have any advice for prepping a small garden area that has 0 nutrients in it? The soil here on the mountains is almost sterile, barely grows grass and fireweed." Well, yeah, rabbit manure is a great amendment to your soil. I don't know if you start building compost. Start making compost, or if you have somewhere where you can get compost, bring that in. I would do I would start off with kind of like a back to Eden style garden with that, a sheet mulch. So basically lay down some cardboard, mow the grass really short if there is any grass, lay down some cardboard, put, a good couple of inches, about 3-4 inches worth of straw on top of that, and then a inch or, couple inches, maybe 2 inches worth of compost on top of that, and plant into that compost. You're going to have to put some kind of top mulch on it, whether it be like a landscape fabric or wood chips or something like that. You can use straw as a top mulch. You'll have to put some kind of top mulch on that to keep, help with water retention, and also to keep weeds from sprouting up in it. But plant right into that compost and mulch it pretty good, and you'll have great results. That'll all break down and just build your soil. And if you just keep adding a little bit to that every year, you could do that whole straw. You shouldn't have to do the cardboard again. The cardboard is just kind of a weed barrier, initial weed barrier to kill out the things underneath it. But as long as you keep a good mulch on it, you're gonna be doing pretty well with that, and it will break down. It'll turn into pretty good soil. Let's see. George says, "Hey Chris, my latest batch of 11 quail hatchings, all male. Food for the pot, I guess. Oh, those elusive females. Oh, my latest batch of 11 quail hatchings. Okay, well, congratulations on your latest batch. They're all male though, unfortunately. So, yeah, that happens sometimes. You get it always seems like I get way more roosters than hens. Very seldom is it more hens than roosters." Chris Mason says, question, "I'm got a big fan of grow-alongs." Wait, here it is. "I am a big fan of grow-alongs where we all plant the same vegetables or fruit simultaneously. Have you ever considered an incubate-along?" I've never really thought about that. I mean, sometimes I've thought about it, but it's not like, I don't know. I never really crossed my mind that much. I've never even thought about grow-alongs. I've never even heard of that, where we all plant the same things at the same time. But, why not? It says, okay, he's expanding on that, an incubate-along, where we all could collectively order eggs, incubate them, and raise the hatchlings together. Order eggs, incubate them, and raise the hatchlings together. So, yeah, I get it. Maybe we'll do that someday. I've seen people in the Facebook groups, the quail groups. I'm terrible at social media. I sometimes check it, but I don't ever post anything hardly. So don't be offended if you've been posting into my Facebook group and I'm not responding. I'm never in there. I'm just terrible at social media. But anyway, I do see sometimes posts where people are doing a big, like, usually it's around a holiday, like a Halloween hatching or a Christmas hatching or whatever, and they all kind of go in as a group and do it all at the same time. I mean, I guess it's fun. I don't know. I don't see the appeal, honestly. I mean, I'm not trying to knock anybody. If you guys want to do that, do it. But I don't know. It's not really my deal. But Scrap 5000 says, "What's up, y'all? Greetings from New York City. Smash the like button." Well, thank you very much. Clifton says, "We're in South Mississippi." Okay, so South Mississippi, you're probably in zone, what is that, 5? I'm guessing zone 5. So that, I don't know. It may not be too terribly early at all. Go for it. Dawn says, "Chris, we had a Halloween and Christmas hatch." So, yeah, I remember seeing some of those things sometimes. Jacob Wolf says, "Any recommendations on gloves to handle rabbits? I want something that protects but has moderate dexterity still. My doe wasn't feeling being handled and scratched my hands up. Luckily, I had sleeves." Yeah, those, my rabbits are really not too bad now about that kind of stuff, but I still tend to wear long sleeves, and I usually just put leather gloves on whenever I'm handling them because, I don't want to get kicked and scratched up too bad. I've got a few scratches still, maybe a scar or two from them, when they've gotten me in the past. Every once in a while, they still do. But it's still a good idea to wear some kind of protective arm cover and hand cover because they just get nervous. They're not being mean necessarily, but you pick them up and they're like, oh, they kick a little bit and they got sharp claw. I mean, they'll scratch you up pretty good. As far as good dexterity, I don't know. I mean, I've got a couple of pairs of gloves that I think I got them from like Harbor Freight. If you go in there and just look at their glove selection and find some that have pretty good dexterity, I don't know that I have a great. I don't know, honestly, a great dexterity glove that will keep your hands from getting scratched up. A lot of those, gloves that have a lot of dexterity in them are made from like a cotton or a cloth or something like that, and they'd go right through that. So I don't know. Andrew says to Cynthia, when my quail are molting, I give them about a teaspoon of small cracked sunflower seeds. It helps them grow their feathers out with the added protein in a separate dish. That's a great idea. Yeah, do it if you've got them. I mean, otherwise, just wait. They'll get through it. I mean, it's not that big a deal. Hey, there's Bob Cole. Good to see you. TM says, where's Vay's place? I don't see her. I don't know. I haven't talked to Verna. I don't know where she is. Hopefully she's doing all right. Maybe she's just busy. I mean, she's got other things going on. Gardening for Better Health says hello from Michigan. Hello to you. Good to see you. And let's see. Andy Rabbit says, I got my granddaughter up and dressed for school, then realized they canceled school. Nothing on the ground then around nothing on the ground. Then around 10 a.m. it started snowing big flakes. It was 46 degrees. Nothing stuck to the road. It was crazy for sure. It was gone fast here too. Yeah, it was a really cool. I mean, it was a really pretty snow because it was a heavy, wet kind of stuck to all the trees and everything looked really cool. I always wish that would happen on days when I don't have to work, so I can take the camera out and get some good photography of stuff. But like I said, by the time I got off work, it was pretty much gone. I mean, it was all gone off the trees for sure. Joe Sandy says hello to everyone. Good to see you. Saria Delta, I had to think about that one for a minute. Says, hey, from Australia. Chris, it's a balmy 80 degrees Fahrenheit and very humid. Thanks for your advice that got me into quail. I get 20 eggs a day and almost ready to call. Should get a few feeds in the freezer. So, well, awesome. I'm glad that things are working out well for you. I'm glad that my videos have been helpful for you. And thanks for letting me know. And I'm jealous of your 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It actually wasn't too bad. It was crazy. We had snow on Monday, and then let's see, Tuesday was pretty nice. It was like almost 60. It was like 60 some odd degrees, 62 degrees, I think. And then yesterday was pretty nice. It was in the mid to high 60s. Today, I think it only got up to about 50, 55. It was a little bit on the cool side, but still not bad. Bob says, tap the thumbs up. Thank you. Well, we got pretty good. Well, we got 25 thumbs up, 58 people in here. Jan says, hello, Chris and everyone. Good to see you, Jan. Thanks for joining us. Hey, there's Verna. Hey, Chris, like number 19. Yeah, Verna's here. Gardening for Better Health says, question, I have 4 quail hens. The rear feathers of one have been plucked out. How do I get the other hens to stop plucking the one? Okay, so there could be a couple of things going on there. One is, I mean, a lot of times when birds get injured, or any animal for that matter, the other animals around tend to pick on it a little bit more. So that could be happening. Generally, they'll get over that and it'll grow out. Make sure you've got a high enough protein in your feed. I don't know what protein level you're feeding right now. You might let me know in the chat and we'll see. But try to get that somewhere around 25% roughly. If you can go 22 to 30%, somewhere around in there, you're probably good. If you're under 20%, that may be part of the problem. Birds, when they have real low protein levels, feathers are primarily protein, so they're going to start plucking those feathers off of them. You could try separating that bird out, but honestly, you're going to have a hard time reintroducing it once it does heal. Depending on how many quail you have, and if you're raising them for meat, you might just go ahead and put that one in the freezer and just be done with it, so you don't have to mess with it anymore. But otherwise, I think what I would do is probably just see if they just get over it. A lot of times they'll just kind of move on. They'll quit picking on that bird. They'll get over it. But if it gets too bad, I mean, your only options would be really separate that bird out from the others. But again, at that point, you're pretty much isolating it. It's going to be really hard to get it to move back in with the existing group without it getting beat up and picked on even worse. So I don't think I would opt for probably culling it and put it in the freezer as opposed to trying to separate it out and then trying to reintroduce it at some point. But that's just my advice. We'll see if somebody else has some more. Maybe they'll have something good. Joe Sandy says, I have a very strange situation happen last week during my quail coccidiosis fiasco. I need to ask a question. It will take a couple of messages. I'm hopeful somebody can help me. Well, we'll see what it is when we get to it. Hopefully we can. Well, Bob Cole says to Andrew to add good compost, nature's cure-all. Yeah, for sure. Lots of organic matter, good compost. Mr. Mata says, I butchered a 3-month-old 10-ounce quail. It had a large amount of fat in the cavity. What can be the cause? That seems unusual with a 3-month-old bird, but I mean, heck, there could be a number of different causes. It could be anything. I don't know that it's anything to worry about. I don't know that I've really gotten much, a whole lot of birds at 3 months old that had a lot of fat. But when I process older birds, they do tend to have a little bit more fat on them. I've never seen a whole lot in the cavity, though. That is a little bit odd. I'm not sure exactly what causes it, but I just chalk it up to who knows. I mean, unless it's like a continuing issue, I don't think I'd worry about it. And even then, I don't know that that's a big deal, really. Andrew says to both me and Bob Cole, I have a large pile of quail poop mixed with sawdust from the litter trays. How long till it's ready to spread in the garden? It really kind of depends until it starts breaking down. Here's the thing with wood chips and things like that is they make a great mulch, but when you mix them into the soil, they do tend to cause issues. So what they tend to do is they tend to lock up the nitrogen in the soil because the nitrogen is being used to break it down. The same thing with the quail manure. It's going to lock up that nitrogen in it, but that's what makes your compost. I mean, that's a good thing in a compost pile. It's not a good thing in the ground because it tends to lock all that stuff up while it's breaking down. Now, it will eventually turn to dirt or turn to compost and feed your ground pretty well, but you may have some issues with it until then. So just wait till it breaks down, then add it to it. It depends on the condition. I mean, there's a lot of different conditions that go into how fast it's going to break down. Does it have the proper moisture content? Does it have the proper oxygen levels? You can turn it pretty frequently and speed that up quite a bit. I mean, I've been able to get finished compost from like manure and not sawdust usually, but like leaves, which is basically the same thing. Carbon high material like dead leaves, wood chips, sawdust, that kind of stuff is all carbon. And then quail manure mixed in with that, or rabbit manure mixed in with that, or whatever, a good nitrogen source, mix those two together. And as long as you turn it pretty frequently, I've been able to get good finished compost in as little as 2 weeks. But it takes the right moisture level. It's got to be moist, but not soaking wet. You've got to have a little bit of oxygen in it. That's why turning it helps quite a bit, especially with sawdust, because sawdust tends to clump up really hard. So you need to break that up and make sure to stir it up quite a bit. And to do that within 2 weeks, I'm turning it every day. Basically means turning the pile completely over, mixing it all up every day, basically. Anyway, hopefully that kind of gave you an answer on that. Berna says, I was late. I was on the phone with my daughter. Well, that's a good reason to be late. Michael says, hello from southeast Missouri. Well, the other side of the state from me, probably. I'm in southwest Missouri. But good to see you here. It's always good to see other people from Missouri. Short Pickens Quail says, hello to everybody. Hello to you, too. TM says, there you go. Okay, look, talking to Verna. So Verna's saying they're predicting us getting about 1.5 inches of snow tomorrow. Interesting. I guess the storm's probably, well, I don't know. I would think the one that hit us has already gone past you guys. And maybe it's a different storm system, I guess. Joe Sandy, okay, here we go. We're getting part 1 of the question. We'll see how we do. Says, was treating my 5 hens for coccidiosis, went out to check on them, and 1 hen was prolapsed. I decided to put her down. I decided to open her up and see if there was any sign of illness, and then we'll get to the rest of that here in a minute, I guess. Verna's saying that if you put the quail manure on your garden after you clean it out in the fall, it would be ready in the spring. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, as long as you don't go too heavy with it, it's going to be fine by spring, more than likely. Andy Rabbit says, yesterday was kind of hot to me. We are having a weird weather, but I'm happy to have the warmer weather this week. I have a few rabbits that should be having babies this week. Well, awesome. Good luck with that. I hope they do well. B-Tech Wind Solar says deja vu. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but okay. George says, Chris, have you ever collected quail hearts, livers, etc. to eat? Acknowledging you'd need a lot of them for meal. Is it worth it, or do you have? I have a lot of quail to call and have often wondered. Okay, I don't know that I've ever eaten quail liver, but I've eaten quail heart quite a few times. I like liver, I like heart, I like all those kinds of things. But yeah, I quite frequently I'll save the hearts and just kind of cut them open a little bit, rinse them out real good, make sure they're cleaned, and then maybe lightly dust them with some flour and fry them in some bacon grease, and they're a pretty good little snack. But you're right, it would take a whole lot of them to make a meal, but it does make a decent little snack. Joe Sandy says, part 2 of this. Okay, this was my first time butchering. I got her skinned and was shocked at what I found. Her entire lower abdomen was like a balloon filled with what looked like urine, exactly like urine. Interesting. So her entire lower abdomen, huh? That probably has to do with the prolapse, I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know if I can give you any more advice on that. My guess would be it's probably something to do with the prolapse. It may be the cause for the prolapse. Maybe, who knows? It's probably not urine, but it's maybe some kind of infection, that's going on. I don't know. Maybe somebody with a little bit more knowledge on that kind of stuff can give us a little bit of advice. George says, loving this live stream. Happens during my lunch hour. Well, awesome. Thanks for taking your lunch hour and spending it with us, because it's like 7 o'clock at night. Well, 7:30 now, isn't it? Yeah, 7:26 p.m. right now. Andrew says, we collect them and cook them for a treat for the dogs. We aren't fans of quail organs. I kind of like the hearts quite a bit. I don't know. I mean, I've never tried saving the liver. There's just not enough to it to mess with. Rabbit liver, though. Rabbit livers, they've got pretty good sized livers, and that's pretty good. I've saved those before and done that quite a few times. George says, I'd reckon you need about 50 or so of them to get a decent meal out of it. Yeah, probably. You'd need quite a few, that's for sure. Katana says, let's see, I butchered my first 11 rabbit grow outs yesterday, and one of them had white spots on the liver. I assume it's coccidia, so I ordered some Corid to add to all the rabbit's water. Any reason why it would only be one rabbit with it? I mean, who knows? It could be that. Hopefully it's just that one rabbit. You never have to deal with it again. It may not even be coccidia. It may just be, sometimes livers have a little bit of spot on them anyway. That's just normal. I wouldn't eat that, liver at all if it had white spots on it, just to be on the safe side. But it's not abnormal, and it could just be fatty deposits on the liver too. Sometimes that happens too. Not necessarily. I mean, you can look up pictures and see the difference. There is a big difference between coccidia. Not a big difference, but there is a difference between white spots caused by coccidia and white spots caused by other things. But it's hard to know for sure without. I mean, that is a good sign that it could be coccidia, but it's hard to know for sure without really testing. Or, I mean, there's sometimes if it's a really bad infection, you'll know. But other than that, it's hard to know for sure. MW says, I'm looking for tips on finding a vet to help me with quail vaccinations. Why? I guess is my question. What are you trying to vaccinate against? Are you having issues of some kind, or are you just trying to do preventive vaccinations for something? I'm not sure what vaccinations are out there for quail and if any vets would do it, but maybe somebody has some advice here. We'll see. Chad says, is 80% humidity too high for lockdown? No, 80% is okay. You really don't want to go much over 80%. Somewhere between about 70 and 80% is about right. If you can hit like 75, that's a pretty good humidity. 80% is not bad, but you get too much over that, you can start leading to chicks like drowning and stuff, basically, because there's just too much water in the air. But 80% is okay. Joe Sandy says, part 3. I popped it and drained it. Everything else looked normal. What could that have been? Quail don't pee. Their pee is white part of their poop, right? She must have been in awful pain. Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm guessing it has something to do with the prolapse, probably some kind of infection or something like that. I'm not sure what would have caused it, honestly. Verna says, MW Coturnix quail don't need vaccinated. Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. I wouldn't think they do. George says, I have some 3-month-old quails that are complete fatties. They'd be really fatty inside, probably. The one thing I don't really care for quail fat that much. It doesn't marble the meat. It doesn't. I mean, it does. It tends to be on the outside of the meat and doesn't marble the meat. So I don't know that really a fatty bird is all that great, but I guess it's better than no fat. Andy says, George, I put them in a bag in the freezer till there is a good amount, or I just cook as a snack. Yeah, I've kind of done the same thing with them. I don't really usually collect them up. I'll just, if I have a handful of them and I feel like a snack that day, I'll go ahead and keep them. But Trucker Planet says, hello from Massachusetts. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. MW says, vaccinations, personal choice. My choice to vaccinate based on PhDs at the agricultural department, not for everyone, but something we want to do at my local university. Okay, so, but what are you wanting to vaccinate against? That's where I'm not real sure. Gardening for Better Health says, I feed Combat. I always have a hard time with that. 22% start to finish feed. I'm trying to find a higher percentage for them. Well, 22% is not bad. 22% is okay. Give me a second here. Okay, 22% is okay. I think if I remember right, we were talking about your birds losing some feathers, or no, plucking feathers probably. So it's probably not an issue with your protein in your feed. It's probably just that for some reason they decided to pick on this bird and they started plucking some feathers, and then once it started, they kept at it. Are you sure they're being plucked and it's not just a molting? You said, if I remember right, all the feathers on the back side. A lot of times when birds molt, they're going to lose those feathers on the kind of their chest and their back side and look kind of scraggly for a little while. And it may not be that they're being picked on necessarily. They're just, molting. I don't know. It's hard for me to say with just, a talk from a little bit of chat in the window, but we'll see if you got more content you can give us. We'll see if we can get it further answered. Bev says, seems like I'm always still working during this live. Finally done. Hello, everyone from Florida. Well, hey, thanks for joining us. Sorry, I'd do these more often if I could, but it is, I have to work around my schedule too. So, let's see. Verna wants to know if I've started seedlings for the garden yet. No, not yet. I'll get those done probably mid-March. Somewhere early to mid-March. Gardening for Better Health says, I do supplement them with oyster shell. If you're going to add oyster shell, just do it on the side. You probably don't need to, honestly. As long as you've got like 1.5 to 2% calcium in your feed, you don't need to add any extra oyster shell or anything like that. That's not going to help with any kind of feather plucking or anything, but make sure to add it on the side. Don't mix it in with their feed. Too high a calcium can be bad for them too. It can cause some issues, especially with like your hatch rates and things, because it can get deposited on the eggs, make the egg shells a little bit thicker, hard for the chicks to be able to pip their way out of the shell. So, avoid mixing in with their feed. Add it on the side if you want to. They'll kind of get as much as they need out of it, but you probably don't need to do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You just probably don't need to. Andy Rabbit says, I like rabbit liver too. Yeah, it's pretty good. If you like liver at all, rabbit liver is a good one. It's fairly mild. Verna says, Lucy will be getting all my rabbit liver. Lucky dog. And Joe Sandy says, part 4 final. There were no white spots on her liver like people thought would be there if they had coccidiosis, but there were small holes in her liver. Is that normal? I took a video. Small holes. I don't know, honestly, that, coccidiosis is a parasite. So if you're treating them for that and killing the parasite, that I guess could leave holes in the liver. I don't know, honestly. I'm not an expert on that. I don't know. Somebody else might be able to talk to it a little bit more. Jacob says, Chris, do you know if you're getting to be a speaker at QuailCon this year? Probably. I usually am. So I'm guessing probably, unless Zach doesn't want me back for some reason or something, which is okay. If he doesn't, we're okay with that. TM says, dirty rice made out of rabbit liver. That sounds like it might be pretty good. It very well might be. There's Abacare. Good to see you. Andrew says, we butchered 30 quail in the fall, kept all their hearts and livers, diced them up, and ended up with almost 2 cups after it was cooked. The dogs still enjoy when they get a frozen treat on their food. Yeah, 30 quail and ended up with almost 2 cups. So it's not a whole lot, but it's something. Jay Bennett says, ever had quail chicks hatch with sticky film on them, almost like they are covered in gel that dries hard? No, I can't say that that's ever happened to me. I don't know if, did you get a lot of them that way or just 1 or 2? I mean, did they possibly get like the membrane from the egg and bring that out with them? I can't think of a time that's ever happened. Sage Wolf says, hello to everyone. Hello to you too. MW says, can dehydrate quail organs and feed for doggies? Are you asking if you can do that? Well, yeah, you could definitely do that. Gary says, process 13 10-week-old New Zealands and 2 quail roosters, eating quail tonight. All of our hens are laying. We started with jumbo whites, but did a batch of jumbo wilds and like them better. Yeah, I like the jumbo wilds better. They're I didn't care for the whites when I had them. I've had some before. They were much more aggressive and much harder to deal with. Plus, you have to vent sex them to know which ones are male and females. I just like the jumbo wilds better. That's my personal choice. Chris says, Chris, your thoughts on sprouting high protein fodder for quail? If you have experiences with it, thank you. I actually have not grown fodder. I mean, I've grown lots of like microgreens and all those kinds of things. I know how to grow fodder, but I've not done it for my animals. It just seems like extra work, not enough return on investment, not enough return on, well, the time investment anyway in it to really make a big difference. They're going to get, fodder for like your rabbits. You could feed rabbits only doing fodder, but it's a lot more work than scooping a handful of pellets out and putting it in their dish. And you're going to get slower grow out rates because it's just not as high quality nutrition as what you get in a pellet necessarily. Same thing for quail, really. I don't think fodder is not going to be a good diet for your quail. They need meat protein, like from insects and things like that. So it's really easier just to feed a commercial crumble to them as well. I haven't done it because I don't know. It's just not really worth the investment in time for me. Bev Smith says, MW, I feed both organs and feet to my dogs raw, but I'm looking at getting a dehydrator for longer shelf life. That's a good option. I mean, yeah, there's no reason you can't. Chad says, using hatching time cages for breeders and grow outs to 3+ weeks, then move my males to an outdoor system until they are ready to be processed. Any tips on limiting predators with the outdoor cages? Let's see. You've got hatching time cages and grow outs to 3 weeks, and then you're going to move them to an outdoor system. Keep it up off the ground. I have predators that have come to my quail hutches, but none of them have gotten in. So I don't know if I can really help you too much with that. How bad of a predator problem do you have? I live in town, so it's not a huge problem, but we get raccoons, we get possum, snakes. I've had coyotes come in. Had one come after my chicken tractor a couple of years ago. Maybe it was last year or a year before. I don't remember, but it was middle of the day or during the day anyway. I saw it coming across my back tree line, and I thought that's going to go right for that chicken tractor. And sure enough, it did. And I yelled and screamed, and that thing did not go away. I mean, it backed off a little bit, but it didn't run away. It just laid down there and waited like it was going to wait for me to leave so it could go back after him. I ended up having to shoot it with the pellet gun to get it to run off. But as far as the quail go, nothing's been able to really get in. I did have a fox that was coming at one point, was grabbing quail, their feet, and pulling their legs off through the bottom of the cage. And I strung a piece of electric wire around it, and he hasn't been back since. But another solution for that too would have been just to put another. Some viewers came up with this idea, and I thought, well, duh, that's way easier and brilliant. Just put another layer of hardware cloth underneath the main layer, just a couple inches below. They wouldn't be able to get through that to get up to them to get their legs and grab them and pull them down through. So, I don't know. I mean, if you've got a bad predator problem, electric wire is hard to beat. But other than that, if you can just keep them up off the ground, I mean, just the fact that my quail hutch is raised up, possums, raccoons, I mean, I've got trail cameras of them, pictures of them reaching up like they're trying to get into it, and then they just give up and move on because they can't. Jacob says, anyone have any idea on why incubator manufacturer says to lower temp to 98.9% during lockdown? Most videos I've watched, those say just maintain 99.5 throughout the whole process. Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Good question. I keep mine the same temp during lockdown. MW says preventative for bird flu. Okay, that's what you want to vaccinate against? I don't know. I mean, I'm not picking on you. I'm not beating you up for this or saying you shouldn't vaccinate for it or anything, but I don't know that that's really a big threat. I mean, unless you got a lot of wild birds coming into your quail hutches and being in close proximity with your birds, I don't really know that that's a big deal. But hey, I mean, if you want to vaccinate, go ahead. Sage Wolf says birds with no feathers on the back could be from overbreeding. If there are males with your females, I had that issue 2 years ago. Yeah, it could be. You're right. Usually that's going to be more like the back of their head, that part, not necessarily their back and their lower back. I mean, it could cause that. If you've got too many males in there, that could definitely cause it. And that can also cause some aggression problems with the hens and everything starting to just kind of get a little bit antsy and starting to get a little bit aggressive with each other. You really don't want to keep more than about one rooster for every 4 to 5 hens. If you got more roosters than that, then yeah, you're going to end up with overbreeding and you could end up with some of those problems. So that could be it. That's a good suggestion. MW says, Bev, that's awesome. I try to get mostly metal components so it lasts longer. I don't know what we're talking about there, but I must have missed that one. Oh my goodness, I'm scrolling too far. I can't get through it. We got, about 18 minutes left. Wait, yeah, 18 minutes left. So we're flying through here, but hey, we're getting there. Andy Rabbit says, I don't like liver from anything else but rabbit. Liver is good. If you raise rabbits, you should fry some of the liver up at least once. Yeah, I like liver. I mean, I'm okay. I like beef liver. I like, I like rabbit liver quite a bit. Those are some of my favorites. Jacob Wolf says, Comback also makes a game bird feeder feed, but it's only in mini pellet form. It meets all the requirements My Shire Farm recommends. Joe Sandy says, thank you for your thoughts. Sorry, so much strange questions. Don't know who else to ask. I even contacted a professor at Texas A&M and no answer. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, you might try. I mean, I don't know what state you're in. If you're in Texas, then maybe that's the best place. You might try your local extension office too, your state extension office, and see if they can help. A lot of times they're going to be not quite as busy. They can help out a little bit, or even the conservation department. Our conservation department around here is super helpful. They may or may not be able to talk and answer some of those questions. And by the way, your questions aren't crazy. It's fine. Ask them all you want. I mean, I may not always have an answer, but I'll do my best. Try to answer if I can. Let's see. MW says they recommend a couple of other things, but I can't recall. I have to reach out. A lot of vaccinations only available to large farms. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I just don't get why you'd want to try to vaccinate your quail. Unless you're having problems, I don't see the point, but that's just me. I mean, I get it, I guess, with, farms that have like a whole lot of birds. If they lose a flock of birds, it's lots and lots and lots of money down the drain. But, even if I lost my whole entire flock of quail, I mean, what am I out, like $7,500 to get more eggs and, incubate and start all over again. MW says, where I live, we have we got Joy from Western Oregon. Almost missed that one. Good to see you too. MW says, where I live, we have a lot of chicken farms, so there's increased risk of issues. I think that could be why they recommend certain vaccinations. It could be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, you're talking about a college that's recommending that, right? And, I kind of find that usually what's being taught in college now, I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm just saying usually what's being taught in college doesn't translate completely to the real world, and that goes on for pretty much any topic. But, there's a good chance that They may have studied and they may know a little bit more than I do. I mean, I'm not saying that they're completely wrong, but I just don't see the point in trying to vaccinate. I've never had a disease issue with my quail ever, and I've been raising them for a very long time. RBL Jackson says, yeah, we also give our lab and quail egg or two with every meal, twice a day. Yeah, Max gets quite a bit of quail eggs too. He likes them, and it helps quite a bit. Verna was away on the phone again. That's all good. Chad says raccoons can be an issue here. Yeah, I mean, they are here too. We get raccoons, we get skunks, we get, I mean, all kinds of stuff here. But I've had them try, but they've never gotten into my hutches. So I don't know that I can really help you unless, I mean, if you got it up off the ground like I do on, legs, and they haven't gotten into them. Verna says, RBL Jackson, they can eat as many quail eggs as you want. I think we're talking about the dog can eat as many quail eggs as you want. Just don't give them over 24 eggs in one day unless they act constipated, LOL. Yeah, that's probably a good recommendation. And then Bev Smith said, I can't find the Comback game feeder, big bird feeder down here in Florida. It's tough to find a good food that meets all of my shire's recommendations. Honestly, I mean, I'm not saying that their recommendations are bad. Their recommendations are good. But you got to also put it in context too. Zach is raising a lot of birds. That's his business. He's got to produce the highest quality birds he can. And he does a great job with that. You don't necessarily have to meet all of those requirements. You can get away with a lot less. So don't stress about that too much. The most important things in your feed are going to be the protein and the calcium. I mean, it should all game bird feed, no matter what, it's going to have all the other vitamins and stuff you need in there, like, the thiamines, the vitamins, and all that kind of stuff is going to be fine. You just need to make sure that you've got a high enough protein, somewhere over 20%, 22. I like a 25 to a 30, but, it doesn't have to be that high. And make sure you've got at least 1.5 to 2% calcium. And if you've got those two things, you're probably going to be okay. Joe Sandy says, I think I'm going to order some hashing eggs, trying to decide what incubator to order between Nurture Right 360 or Little Giant. I probably won't ever need a large capacity. I mean, a Little Giant is, I don't have any experience with the Nurture Right 360, but I can tell you the Little Giant, I mean, you can set 120 eggs in that. I think it's like 100. I mean, you can set a lot of eggs, 100 eggs easily. If you get the quail rails for the Turner, and that's quite a bit. I mean, that's more than that's a fairly large capacity. So, and I use Little Giant for, good grief, like 12 years. It's a great incubator. It does fine. Just like any incubator, you need to calibrate it. You need to make sure it's accurate. With a couple of extra thermometers, throw them in there, run it for a little while, make sure it's reading what the thermometer says or what the thermostat says it's supposed to be at. And then they also have great customer service. That's one thing I've been very impressed with Little Giant. It's made by Miller Manufacturing. I've had 2 issues with my incubator over a course of, like I said, 12 years or so. And both times, I mean, they didn't really, I mean, they tried to help me troubleshoot, and they didn't ask me like, when did you buy it? How old is it? Nothing. They just sent me the new parts to fix it for free. It didn't cost me anything. So really good customer service. So I can speak that way for, not very many companies will do that. Jacob Wolf says, Comback 28% pheasant starter. The product code is 751AMP, and 18% game bird breeder. Product code 759 meets the requirements for starter, and then layer for quail recommendations to my shire. There you go. Jacob Wolf says, whoever was talking about Comback feed for quail. Oh, he posted that in response to whoever was talking about it. Andrew says to Jacob Wolf, we have a lot of fox here, and when we see them getting close to the property, we have a piece of 2-inch chicken wire under the cage hooked up to a electric fence controller we turn on. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Robert wants to know how the baby rabbits are doing. They're doing fine. I mean, I haven't got them out of the nest, and since I did the video over the weekend. But they're doing fine. When I'm going out and feeding in the morning, it's dark, so I've got a headlamp so I can see what's going on. But I haven't been digging them out. I just kind of stick my hand in there, make sure they're all still alive. They are. Leave them alone. But yeah, I'll be getting them out. I'll do some follow-up videos, give you guys a glimpse of them. They're doing fine. Andy says, TM, I can't think about chicken liver. Childhood nightmares, I guess. Verna says, to me, the only thing liver is good is dog food or fish bait. Yeah, I get it. I just grew up fairly poor, so we ate liver and all kinds of things. My mom made the best liver and onions. She made it with calf liver, but the best liver and onions. That was my birthday meal every year when she was alive. Scrap 5000 says, had to hop off early this week, so I'm not sure if anyone responded to this. For anyone who uses black tubing for their auto, last week you had to hop off early last week, so you're not sure if anybody responded. For anyone who uses black tubing for their auto watering system, do they find that the sun heats up the water too much? We did have responses to that. I do remember that several people said, theirs is in the shade and it doesn't get too hot. If it was in full sun, it might, but it doesn't sound like it's an issue. Andrew says to MW, did you reach out to your state Department of Agriculture? Some states have free bird vaccines for places that have a lot of instances of AI. Andy says rabbit liver has a different taste altogether. I agree. It's a pretty mild flavored liver. It's not real strong. And Andy says, I bet it's got to be better than balut. I agree. Yeah, you're going to eat balut, but you won't eat liver. That seems odd. But anyway. NMW says, I'm not taking it personally. No worries. Good. I appreciate that. I mean, I'm one of those people where, I feel like we can have differences of opinion. That's okay. We can be friends. But some people get offended by that, when you have a difference of opinion. I sometimes forget that, so I have to be careful. MW says they will inspect and test for free, but not vaccinate. You got to have a private vet for that. Yeah, I'm not sure what to tell you. I just don't know. Andy Rabbit says it is 120 eggs in the Little Giant Turner. I thought so. I just couldn't remember for sure. Joe says, is the Govee that great, or will meat thermometers work just as well? Honestly, any thermometer, as long as it reads accurate, will work, and it's got to go down low enough. A lot of times your meat thermometers don't read below 100 degrees. So that could be an issue. But as long as it's an accurate thermometer, it's going to be fine. And get two of them, because, if you have one and it reads something and your incubator reads something else, you don't know which one's right. MW says this is the agricultural department that works with the state and holds educational sessions for backyard flocks in our area. They are the recs from both the state and the university, to each their own. I don't disagree. I mean, it's like I said, I'm willing to admit that they may know a little bit more than me, but also at the same time, I know a lot of the times they're focused on huge producers, not backyard guys that are raising just some birds here or there. It doesn't necessarily apply the same. And a lot of times, too, they're going off of like book smarts, and they're not necessarily field smarts. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm trying to think of a good example of that. But anyway, you get what I'm saying probably. Andrew says, I have both a Little Giant and a Hubba Baiter. I get good results from both, but the Hubba has less temp variation measures with a Govee. Oh, okay. Dragon Girl says, made it to the end. Made it to the end of the live broadcast? Well, good. I'm glad. Yeah, we're almost done. We're not quite there. We got 6 more minutes left. TM says, picking the right incubator sounds like a good topic for QuailCon. Yeah, it would be. Zach has done a video series on a whole bunch of different incubators. I mean, you can go check them out and see Zach at My Shire Farm. Go check him out. He did a review on like a whole bunch of them. There's honestly, most of them are just fine. Pretty much any incubator you pick's gonna work just fine. I mean, don't go with a super cheap one, but other than that, they're all gonna be pretty much fine. Gabby says, I'm looking to get into raising meat rabbits in New Zealand. A good choice. Thank you. Well, awesome. I hope things go well for you. MW says, thanks for holding this live session. I learned so much. Everyone's so nice. Have a great night, everyone. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And hopefully, I'm glad to hear that you're learning something from it. You're getting some helpfulness. Everybody is very friendly. I'm always so very thankful for that. If I don't know the answer, somebody else can usually chime in and give you a response. Averna says, Chris, I'm the only one in my family that could not stomach liver. I even tried as an adult, and it bounced back out when I swallowed it. I'm sorry to hear that. It is a good one. It's good. I like it. It's good. But anyway, Jeff says, hey, Chris, I live in Southwest Missouri. Wait, let's see what. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Jeff Fanning says, hey, Chris, I live in Southwest Missouri. 2, would you be interested in selling some rabbits? I do sell some from time to time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm open to selling them. They're pedigree silver foxes. So, yeah, if you want to, you can send me an email if you want to, chris@slightlyredneck.com. It's probably the best way to get me to respond to you. And then, we can get in touch. I don't know what part of where you're at in Southwest Missouri exactly, but, you got to be fairly close if you're in Southwest Missouri. Andy says, hello from Southwest Michigan. Truly enjoying your videos on raising quail. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Joe Sandy says, Andrew, is the hoverbaiter a lot more money? I don't remember how much the hoverbaiter runs. Let's see. Let's look it up real quick. Looks like it's close to about a $200. So it's a little bit more expensive. I think Little Giant's running right around, I don't remember if they've increased their price, but right around $100. Looks like I would definitely go with circulated air and get the egg turner with it. So you're looking at probably about 114, right around $100 to $115 for the Little Giant. Verna says, reading about some does not giving you the experience that life gives you. What? I'm lost on that one, Verna. I don't know what you're talking about. Reading about something. There we go. That makes more sense. Let me read it right. Reading about something does not give you the experience that life gives you. No. And a lot of times when you get, you buy a book or you watch an instructional course or, something like that, it's like they want to go over the top to make you feel like you're getting your money's worth out of it. And I mean, you'll get all kinds of like you have to do things a very specific way, and there's all these crazy, and you don't really have to do all that. Joe Sandy says, I watched Zach's reviews that were helpful. Yeah, I agree. He did a great job with those. MW says, we make a liver mousse with chicken liver, and it's very fancy. I bet you could also do that with quail. Yeah, you'd have to have a whole lot of quail to do that, but yeah, you probably could. Oh, and there's the link. Verna's placing the link to the MyShire product reviews videos. So there you go. You can go check that out. Joe Sandy says they must have dropped the price overnight on the Little Giant. Yesterday it was $185. Forced air with Turner. I don't know where it was $185. That seems awful high. I mean, I'm looking at Little Giant digital circulated air incubator 41. Oh, that says 41. Oh, that's chicken eggs. 41 chicken eggs. $61.99 on Amazon. It doesn't have the Turner, but the Turner is only another $50. I mean, if you buy them separate, isn't it? Yeah, egg Turner. And then you do need to get the quail rails, so that's another 15 or 20. But you can buy a combination. It looks like here's one, 152 on Amazon. You shop around a little bit, you can get it cheaper. I see. Let's see. I'm looking on. I just did a Google search. It looks like there's 144.84 from Chewy.com with the egg turner. It doesn't come with the quail rails. You'd have to buy those separately, but it's the incubator forced air with the egg turner. MW said, oh, and you don't have to use the quail rails. You can incubate with the chicken rails. You just can't get as many eggs in there. MW says, yeah, I'm helpful to hear your perspective, though, for sure. Makes me feel less worried in the event I can't find a vet. We can be safe and clean no matter what. Oh, yeah, you looked on Amazon for that. Sometimes Amazon's best, sometimes it's not. Blessed with Pets made it, but yeah, you're pretty late. It's time to wrap this one up. So, all right. time to wrap this one up, guys. I got to get out of here, go eat some dinner, go to bed, get up, go to work in the morning. And thanks for joining me. It's always great to hang out with you for a while, and we'll see you guys again next Thursday. Until then, thanks for joining us, and as always, God bless.